You know, recently someone asked me about the Donald Trump phenomenon, what's going on here. The best I could offer, judging at least by some of these polls, is maybe the nation just hungers for a no-nonsense guy, a guy who speaks his mind, doesn't suffer fools gladly, and just calls the shots. Now, 10 years ago, this was that guy. They called him Category 5 General, Mr. Stuck on Stupid, because he wouldn't take and tolerate stupid questions. Back in his day, Lieutenant General Russel Honore, right after the whole Katrina fiasco, got a bunch of just unyielding, stupid, incompetent politicians to just move aside and let him get the job done. He did. That was then. General Honore with us now. Sir, very good to have you.
And it's good to be back with you during Preparedness Month and the week after Katrina week. Thank you, Neil.
All right. And you were reminding people back then, you've always got to be ready. And the problem with Katrina back then, so few were. And you've devoted pretty much your life since to making sure we are. But before we get into the details of that, you inherited a mess when you were sort of pushed into this fiasco. But I think what helped folks is that you took the bull by the horns. You were the commanding guy. You were the go-to guy. And right now, when you look at a market sell-off, general anger at China, concern about the state of the world, American dominance, there doesn't seem to be any go-to guy. Is that the problem?
Well, I think it's part of the problem. I think we are so busy trying to make sure we look good in a lot of aspects that sometimes we fail to make sure that number one priority in the military is to make sure our nation is secure. And that's the space I came from. That's the number one job of the United States military, is to defend the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, as well as to those interests as laid out by the president and the Congress on what they want us to do. But I do think we need to continue to remind ourselves what our mission is in the military. And then the American people need to stay focused on what's most important to them.
You know, General, I remember at the time of when you would hold a brief Q&A with reporters, one of the things that would come up is, whose fault is this? They were going after Ray Nagin. They were going after the governor of Louisiana. They were going after the president. And you would invariably say a variety of ways, I don't care whose fault it is. This is what I'm dealing with now. Now you know, when we're looking at concerns about a shrinking military, shrinking prominence of America as a country and a power, one of the things that I think feeds Donald Trump's campaign. What do you think of him and his message?
Well, I think his message obviously is being heard. You can't face the reality of that. But I think people have been discouraged because, you know, the mission of the Congress and the Constitution is to raise our army and to resource our army. And that is their mission. If they're not going to do it, then we need to form another form of government. The Congress is not doing their job. They've allowed us to go into something called sequestration. It's slowly choking the most powerful army ever built in the world to a level of near mediocrity, because right now we've got something we need to hold on to, but it is the Congress. I don't care who's president. It is the job and the mission of the Congress. It's written in the Constitution, and they are not doing their job. It's the Congress of the United States.
So you think their number one fault is how they're hurting the military? How are they doing that? Because the military gets, as you know, General, what, $600 billion a year? That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, and there's a lot of things we need to do here in the United States with that money. But the return on that and what we can do to protect America, to prevent another 9/11, to try and protect our friends and allies around the world, so all these big business guys, these CEOs, can run around the world and go put plants in other countries. I think there's a short turn on our investment, because as we make peace around the world, they're exporting businesses to other places around the world and reducing the amount of jobs here in America. Because at the end of the day, it's the American people pay for this army.
You know, General, that's exactly what Donald Trump said about these companies that do outsource these jobs, that he wouldn't give them tax breaks, that he'd have them pay dearly for that. What do you think of that?
That and the bankers on Wall Street, they all make money on the sweat and tears of the security that's provided by a lot of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who work at minimum wage, who are away from their families year-round, come home for a few months and go back on deployment. And we are shrinking that force that keep airports safe, that keep our sea lanes safe, that keep our ports safe. And if, God forbid, somebody attack us, go out and do what they need to do in the middle of the night to show the will and the power of the United States of America. And we do all that, and we have continued to do it for 239 years. But now the business people don't want to pay the tax, and they're putting the businesses offshore. That's got to be fixed. They have gotten a bargain for 239 years. American people need to hold a Congress accountable for making sure that the great work of generations of soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines are not for naught.
Then, General, what's going on with China? 5 naval vessels just off the coast of Alaska, Russia, submarine just off the coast of the state of Georgia. Are they enjoying this vacuum, taking advantage of this vacuum? What?
I think, for years, China is the world's largest country with 1.3 billion people. And that multi-million man army they have is primarily been designed to control the Chinese people. They now want to become not only a global economic power, but a global military power. And it's had that capacity for a decade, going back to the Cold War. But now they want to be expeditionary. You see China going out and building islands. They are making land. At the same time, here in Louisiana, we're losing land from erosion, and the Congress is not doing anything about it. So our near-term competitor, China, is going out making land so they can be strategically deployable. And on the coast of Louisiana, we're letting our coast be deteriorated, and we can do something about it. That's a shame. And all that goes back to our Congress. They have lost their focus, and they've almost lost their purpose because nobody in America is listening to them.
All right, when you say they've lost their purpose, doesn't have the president have a role in that? I mean, they obviously make the money and propose the budgets, and they've been behind these sequestration cuts and what have you. But both sides, Democrats and Republicans, tangle at this, right?
Both of them are equally responsible for this. We just didn't get into this by mistake. They all bought into it because they all got this legacy thing. They want to balance the budget.
Right.
They want to make sure that all the industry get all the tax breaks. We got industry people be invited to Washington to come testify, and their companies, they don't pay tax. We got industry people making multi-million-dollar bonuses, and they only pay tax on a part of it. While at the same time, we got soldiers, sailors, and airmen and Marine are trying to use parts to try and keep the airplanes and tanks running. This is ridiculous. The Congress needs to step up, and they need to fully fund the military, and we need to make sure that businesses that go offshore are paying their fair share of tax here, because it's the security in the United States that give them the ability to go around the world, because nobody's going to mess with them because they got a U.S. tag on them.
You ever thought of running for president?
That has come up a couple times. I take a good nap and forget about it and go play with my horse a little while.
General Honore, thank you. It is an honor to have you. Always enjoy chatting.
It's Preparedness Month. Get you a satellite radio if you're a leader, because if the grid go down, you need to be able to talk.
Very good. I don't think you would even need that, General. But always good having you. Thank you, sir.